She is an ungainly ship with the fanciful name Lulu, but she will go down in history as a mothership of the century's most startling discovery of marine life. Modern-day explorer scientists made this discovery. Men like geologist Bob Ballard and biologist Fred Grassley. Ballard and Grassley will lead teams of scientists on the most exciting expedition of their lives, an expedition that will reveal sights no one has ever seen before. The scientists will explore the deep sea in the submersible Alvin, an extraordinary spaceship of the inner world. Equipped with a revolutionary television camera, they will take unprecedented motion pictures of strange creatures in the black abyss. For decades, oceanographers have studied the deep sea floor where no sunlight penetrates, where the temperature is just above freezing, where pressure is enormous and life is thinly scattered. Because there is no sunlight and green plants can't grow to form the basis of a food chain, scientists have had good reason to believe that the deep sea is like a desert. But in 1977, scientists were amazed to discover in the Pacific warm water springs or vents with temperatures up to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And around the vents, a myriad of creatures no one had ever seen before. Biologists were astounded. What were these animals doing there? What could they find to eat in that desert world? Geologists were equally confounded. A mile and a half down, they had discovered 4 vents in a small area. Was this a freak oasis? Or were there even more vents? Could such vents even be a worldwide phenomenon? Now, a second expedition sets out to explore the vent area to seek answers to these questions. The answers they find will revolutionize our concept of the deep sea. Men and women and 2 research vessels converge on Panama. The expedition has been 18 months in the planning and will cost $2 million.
Well, you got Williams now over on Little, right?
Williams is over there, and
Who's gone?
Pat Walsh is moving over.
Okay, so that's...
Ballard and Grassley have directed the construction of special gear to capture and film the creatures they hope to find.
Find out who the hell he is.
The leaders are both on the staff of Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Their fellow scientists on the expedition come from other major academic centers. The day of departure, January 14th. Looking more like a floating factory than a ship, Lulu is actually an outboard motor vessel. Her 2 hulls were originally pontoons used in mine sweeping, and her decks are strewn with equipment vans, housing laboratory, machine, and electronic shops. Her sole purpose is to serve as mothership to the research submersible Alvin. Alvin can dive more than 2 miles to give oceanographers an unparalleled platform from which to study the ocean floor close up. But before Lulu and Alvin can begin their work, the vents last seen 2 years ago must be relocated. That is the job of Bob Ballard on research vessel Gillis. Ballard had hoped that Gillis could depart first, so that he would have the time necessary to find the vents before Lulu arrives on the scene. Instead, engine trouble delays Gillis, costing Ballard 2 days of search time. The vent area discovered by the 1977 expedition is more than 200 miles northeast of the Galapagos Islands, on a rift zone where the molten magma of the Earth's interior is near the surface. Bob Ballard explored the teeming vents on the 1977 expedition. So far, Fred Grassley has seen only pictures, tantalizing hints of sights he hopes to see firsthand.
You think the one's just more sensitive?
We were so excited just to hear about the animals. You know, we heard that press release from, I think it was San Francisco or somewhere that came through. It's like finding a lost valley somewhere.
Well, it was. You know, you've been diving a lot, and so have I, and I'd almost become a little insensitive to it all because it is so barren down there. And when I came into that vent area, and this is one of the first slides I took, it was like going to Disneyland.
Well, you never find big animals like that in the deep sea because, well, everywhere else the animals are dependent on the food that comes down from the surface, and this thing seems self-contained.
Yeah.
It seems completely self-sufficient. Ah, there's the dandelion.
There it is.
We just have no idea what that thing is now. You know, the best guess that somebody made at Woods Hole was that it was a large one-celled animal, something like a radiolarian.
Doesn't look like it, huh? You see the filaments coming out that seem to attach it to the rock.
Yeah.
Then you see a bunch of these other little fingery things.
We just
and they
really
look like they're feeding.
On her stern, Gillis carries a crude cage of iron pipe, which is a protective housing for a still camera and light system called Angus. It serves as Ballard's eyes in the deep sea.
I figured I'd give it a little cosmetic. Not that it improves its abilities, it improves people's confidence. Don't want anyone nervous at this stage.
On one sweep, the Angus camera can photograph an 8-mile-long series of pictures. Only after the location of the vents is confirmed in photographs will the sub be launched. 50 hours out, Gillis passes Lulu. Ballard has to wonder whether he can make up the lost time.
We can't even get them in the way. They're all turning their backs.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen Lulu from this point of view.
Ruth Turner, a biologist from Harvard.
See her from, well, I've seen her from the whaler now.
The 14 biologists are completely dependent on Ballard to relocate the vents. There are no landmarks to rely on, and the 1977 expedition was not able to mark the site with either sonar transponder or beacon. On a contour chart or a topographic map at the bottom, Ballard lays out his plan for dropping sound transponders for precise navigation of the camera sled and the submersible.
Then I'm going to cross the valley down to this depression, which we called Sheik Deep. There's no other major depression around that goes that deep. And then what I was going to do is turn in the closure and then steam straight up, ready to deploy. And as soon as I acquire this wall again, as soon as I go up onto the wall, I'll stop the ship, I'll be skidding, and I'll start deploying and drop the first transponder somewhere in this area.
In just a few hours, Ballard will face a lonely responsibility. The expedition and even his professional credibility depend on his success in finding the vents, and finding them quickly. Any loss of dive days means that some scientist will lose a chance he has been anticipating for 2 years.
And from here to here is 3 degrees.
After 3 days at sea, Gillis approaches the rift area.
At 11 knots means we should get on station around midnight. Always arrive at midnight.
Bridge, mainland, come to 255.
255. Stand by to make a turn to 180 and reduce speed to 4 knots.
Now, control of the ship passes from the bridge to the science lab below. It's Ballard's responsibility to set course and speed.
The longitude is 609.4. 5.2.
5.2, roger.
Ballard has only 3 sources of information. A precision depth sounder, which provides him a vertical cross-section picture of the peaks and valleys directly under the ship, the contour chart of the bottom, and navigational fixes that come in periodically from Earth-orbiting satellites.
You know,
I see.
there's
Okay.
air. You don't know what way it is. Probability that it's right on is pretty bleak. That a nice new satellite would come bouncing in about now. Lab to bridge.
Enjoy.
Yeah, Al, what's our schedule for next satellite?
Next one will be at 1 minute after the hour.
The satellite fix is only the starting point for the search. It may be an error by a dozen city blocks. Some vents are only the size of a baseball diamond. Ballard is faced with a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle to find a match between the terrain under the ship and the topographic chart.
So let's say I were paralleling this course. So the depth we cross the valley at should really tell us
where.
something. East-west, and I'm hoping spends most of its time around 1330. Then it ought to just drop like crazy. Should keep coming up. It's already at 13. There's a 1390. Oh, I want to get this over with.
And there is the pressure of time. Now the ship passes over the 2-mile-wide Rift Valley. If Ballard is not to waste the night, he must determine his position before he reaches the other side.
North, 8608.3 west. That's 4 minutes after midnight.
8608. Al, that was 0 degrees, 50 minutes, 8608.3.
Right, that's what the satellite fix gave us at that time.
All right, now, where the hell does that put us on this map? 50 and 8.3. I'll be damned. Where we thought we were. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Gee, we're right on the button. Miracles happen, let me tell you.
Oh, you live right, Bob.
Well, I'll claim I knew what I was doing, right? We're about ready to deploy. Let it go. Okay.
We there or what?
We're there.
Yep, you got it.
The Angus crew drops a first of the sound transponders that will provide fixed reference points on the bottom.
Okay.
Sit down. Remember, we gotta stop this and have Al check it.
Take it in. Watch your leg here.
The work goes on all night, the next day, and into the next night. Catnaps are the crew's only chance for rest.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Come on, time to go.
Finally, with the triangular transponder network in place, the crew lowers the camera sled.
All right, have them come around to 090.
Go ahead down.
Automatic strobe lights are set to fire every 10 seconds. Ballard believes he knows exactly where he is, but he can't be sure until he succeeds in photographing the vents with the Angus camera sled. A mile and a half, the sled is lowered into the gloom. Guiding it to a vent is an electronic game of blind man's buff. Acoustic transmitters and receivers on the sled, the transponders, and the ship talk to one another on different frequencies, and a computer translates into distance the time it takes the signals to reach the ship. From this data, the ship's position, the height Angus is flying above the bottom, and the site of the photographs are calculated.
Wind jump to.
Only constant attention keeps Angus flying low over the bottom.
What happens if these clam beds are all dead from 2 years ago?
Well, that's going to ruin a few people's day.
That's what I was wondering.
"12 hours, and all the film has been exposed.
Come on. All yours, Pete.
Child.
With birth.
See if the film jams, will you, Pete? Yeah.
Developing the film takes 3 hours, and although Ballard has been almost continuously on call for 48 hours, that's too long for him to wait.
Yeah, we're in the area, but it's a needle in a haystack. Gotta find a needle. Let's go and look and see what we got. Really look at it, but I'll swear I saw a bunch of dandelions.
Ballard's success or failure will be immediately obvious in the pictures. Barren lava. Frame after frame, the roll on reels with little trace of life.
That's it. Way!
The inconspicuous appearance of life on the rocks is a tip-off that the vents are close by.
Those are the dandelions. See, they're pink as opposed to white. That's a dandelion. Oh, let's just look at that for a while. Oh. Did you realize that we have about 4 frames to go?
January 20th. It has taken 2 days for Bob Ballard aboard the research vessel Gillis to locate a likely vent area. Now the action shifts to Lulu and Alvin. Before the submersible can dive, there are literally hundreds of systems that must be carefully checked. A minor failure during a dive could force the pilot to abort. A major failure could kill the divers.
Rudder. Coming right. Back to midships.
The claw is Alvin's clumsy substitute for hands. Scrap iron weights help submerge the sub, and when released, allow her to rise again. Underwater cameraman Al Giddings will operate an extraordinary new scientific tool, a breakthrough in electronic photography. It is the prototype of the world's smallest color video camera.
If not, then we got to put something in the other arm and bring it over here.
This will be the first deep water test of the biological gear developed to gather specimens. Before the sub is permitted to dive, final permissions come from the ship's captain, the expedition chief scientist, and the expedition leader.
All ready to go, huh?
Good.
Launch the Whalen. Launch the submarine. Launch the submarine.
The crew on this dive, pilot Dudley Foster, biologist Fred Grassley, and cameraman Al Giddings. The cradle descends and the sub floats free. Alvin depends only on her own power for diving and returning again to the surface.
Okay.
Her front littered with baskets, instruments, and arms, Alvin almost looks like she needs some re-engineering. But like an orbiting satellite, she has needs more vital than streamlining.
Lulu Alvin, my surface hydrant light and radio beacon is on, hatch is shut, oxygen's on, blower's running, EQC's on, tracking's on, 8.1, leaks, grounds, and dumps are normal, no delay in the pedometer, ready to dive, permission to dive, over.
Your launch altitude is 2,500 meters. Permission to dive, over.
All right, you're diving.
Alvin descends 100 feet per minute, and it will take her an hour and a half to reach the bottom. Inside the titanium sphere, the crew is comfortable under normal atmospheric pressure. Outside, deadly pressure builds quickly. The sun's light grows dim. Below 2,000 feet, the sub enters a region of eternal darkness, where no light penetrates except the luminescence of creatures living there and Alvin's own lights.
Lulu Alvin, my depth of 1,000 meters.
In the deep ocean, the temperature near the bottom is uniform and very cold. When the sub is a mile and a half deep, the total pressure on the sphere is 38,000 tons. A small break would instantly kill the men inside.
Lulu Alvin, I'm on the bottom, depth 2500, neutral trim 1573, temperature is 2.1. Can you give me a vector to the event, over?
Alvin, this is Lulu. Your target bears 280 degrees, 30 meters, over.
Gliding across the ocean floor at depths few people have experienced, the crew takes pictures through the sub ports.
There's very little cover of the rocks, nothing like the other area we got.
Feather duster worms on the bottom show a vent is close by. These movie films shot by a remote-controlled camera are the deepest ever made of a submersible on the ocean floor. Tube worms appear in the distance. They lead to the heart of the vent area. Now for close-ups, Giddings swings a video camera into position. Alvin's lights reveal a sight no biologist has ever seen before. Fred Grassley has waited 2 years for this moment.
It's fantastic, like nothing else I've ever seen. It really is like another world. Those white ends are the mussel siphons, and what we need to find out is whether the food is bacteria. Oh boy, it's incredible. I have no idea what that worm is. It's something new, I'm sure of that.
What's he find to eat down here?
I think he must be eating clams or crabs. There's certainly a lot of food there for him.
Ah, there's the sea spider.
You know, the hard part's going to be figuring out how these animals got here in the first place.
Beautiful animal. It looks as if thin filaments are holding it to the rocks, and it's held up by the gas bags. Gives it that appearance of being suspended in space. I hope we can get it back intact.
A rat-tailed fish, strangely attracted by the sub's lights, slides into view.
These fish are known to feed on animals in the bottom. That little beard under his mouth is used to sense animals, and they can actually push their nose down into the sediment and stir up the bottom, and then they sense the small animals and grab them out of the water with their mouths.
Bringing back specimens for study is crucial, but the submersible's claw is far from a delicate tool.
I really think that the brilliant red color that you see is exactly what it looks like. It's just like blood that a person has.
Mussels by the thousands lie among the crevices. How fast do these animals grow? Only study in the laboratory can provide the answer. A simple minnow cage baited with mackerel traps a basket full of crabs in 2 hours. For the trip to the surface, the whole lot is dropped into an insulated container to protect them from changes in temperature. They are not protected from changes in pressure.
Lulu Alvin, my depth is 24.
7-2, we're ready to surface, over.
This is Lulu, roger. All clear to surface, all clear to surface. Over.
Roger, both the weights away.
Okay, babe, I'm going.
Fire lines!
Recovery is a ticklish business. If Alvin crashes against Lulu, the $5 million sub could be knocked out of commission.
Fire line up! Next ship's on deck. Midship's up. Hold the line.
The cradle rises and the submersible grounds.
Hey, boy. Hey, boy. Watch your head.
Dynamite. Yeah. That's really fine stuff.
We just collected everything we could. We got a scraper sample, I think. Right down in the Pogonopera.
Someone want to take these before they get any ideas?
You talking about the poison sea snake?
Yeah.
Ah!
I hope I catch you. I score one for the crabs. Oh, that water is freezing.
This is,
Right now.
I would say get that into the instant ocean pretty quickly, Ruth. Can you grab this edge now?
The first tube worm.
Well, I'm just going to put these in the instant ocean. Then we'll...
Okay, if you can open it outward now. That's a good place to put them. Okay. If we can break it free. Okay. How about that?
Bob Hessler of Scripps Institution of Oceanography.
I used to work on Poganoperans from the deep sea, and the animals that I would work on were about this long and so narrow you couldn't even see the width unless you were dealing with a microscope. And to be working with these things where you could use a knife and fork and spoon for dissection is just absolutely remarkable. One doesn't do this very often.
For the expedition biologists, the work has only begun. And the work of the Alvin crew never ends. Each night they must work all night if necessary to prepare for the next day's dive. "20 times the sub descends to the ocean floor, and the studies expand.
Open it up.
And there's quite a bit of material in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Howard.
From a study of muscle tissue, the biologist can learn whether each vent is a separate island of life, or if life in all the vents is closely related.
I found it in the frame. It's got in there, backed in one of the small holes.
A Galatheid crab, an unexpected bonus for Ruth Turner.
Of course, he couldn't stand the lack of pressure or the warm water, because he's living down there in 2 or 3 degree water. You bring him up here in this warm water and he can't take it, or she can't take it. This is a she.
Well, it's yours, then.
And it allows us to tell us about the rate of reproduction of these by being able to count all these eggs. So we're very delighted to be able to get things in reproductive state. And a lot of them aren't that evident. You have to go inside the animal to figure out what its reproductive state is. Here, they just put it on the outside.
I don't know of any other clam that has this red blood pigment in it.
Carl Berg of Harvard.
All the ones, normal ones, have a clear fluid as for their blood, but these have this red stuff, which we think is hemoglobin, as blood in humans. It's like a piece of beef. It really does, like a piece of liver.
That's amazing.
A little tiny thing on the... Oh,
Jim Childress from UC Santa Barbara studies the physiology of mussels and crabs that he keeps alive in refrigerated high-pressure chambers.
And what's the little white thing? I mean, the white thing at the bottom, is that...
Piece of styrofoam out.
Oh, terrific.
I'm more interested in the surface of it.
Microbiologist Holger Janisch of Woods Hole collects a sample from a mussel's outer layer to check for bacteria. David Carl of the University of Hawaii collects water samples from the vents. He too checks for bacteria. They suspect that bacteria could be the basic food for creatures on the bottom. Carl Werson of Woods Hole checks the water samples. He and others are testing an extraordinary hypothesis. Every known ecological system in the world depends on photosynthesis. Can these bacteria in the vents be producing food without sunlight by chemosynthesis? All animal life is ultimately based on plant food, which can be thought of as edible energy. In photosynthesis, that energy comes from the sun. Drawing molecules of water, H2O, from the earth, and carbon dioxide, CO2, from the air, plants are able to recombine the hydrogen with carbon and oxygen to make food, organic matter, with oxygen as a byproduct. In chemosynthesis, energy comes from intense heat deep within the earth. This energy is carried upward through fissures in chemical form as hydrogen sulfide. Near the vent opening where there is free oxygen and carbon dioxide, bacteria oxidize the hydrogen sulfide and use that energy to combine the hydrogen with carbon and oxygen to make food, organic matter. To confirm the hypothesis, Werson must test whether the bacteria from the vents can grow with sulfur compounds as food.
I think these are the dandelions. These things are completely new and exciting to all of us.
Most of the specimens reach the surface intact, but not the dandelion.
Tell me that they don't know what it is either. It might be a part of the dandelions too, but it might be a separate animal also.
How they're sort of tending its lines.
What do you think, Howard?
With only bits and pieces of the dandelion specimens available for study, the scientists turn to the videotape to observe its behavior.
All of the tentacular portion is the portion that forms that fuzzy little ball at the end of the air pocket.
That's what survives.
That's right. But all these little pieces are broken off. They're the things that are loose in the jar. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And when it moves, that bit that's towards you, Howard, pulsates.
And now you can see those filaments out from the side, reaching out and curling and then coming back in.
That's right.
What is it?
We don't know.
Siphonophore, huh?
It doesn't look like a plant.
That's right.
Our dandelions.
You geologists were wrong again.
On Lulu, the biological study continues, while on Gillis, geologist Ballard pursues theories that might lead him to the discovery of new vents.
Well, this is where the vent is now, Clambake 1. And I'm just trying to figure out if there's a rhythm to the topography. You look at it, and you see that it looks like there is. And I use that to search for more vents.
If we could cut across the Galapagos Rift and peer inside, we would see that the Earth's rigid crust of continents and ocean floor is very thin. Beneath is a molten interior. The vent area is one point where that molten interior breaks through the crust. It is part of the largest geologic feature in the face of the Earth, the mid-oceanic ridge. 40,000 miles the mid-oceanic ridge stretches. But of it, man has thus far seen only 40 miles. In the crater of a volcano, we can see in miniature the formation of the mid-oceanic ridge. Motions within the Earth force apart its crustal skin. Molten magma periodically erupts into the resulting rift. When lava pours out near the sea surface, tremendous volcanic explosions sometimes occur. In time, submarine seamounts or islands are formed. When lava flows underwater, it behaves differently, at times pouring forth like giant globs of toothpaste, called pillow lava. On Lulu, the biology dives are over. Now Ballard, with cameraman Al Giddings, gets his chance to search out new vents.
See how many vents we can find. I think we're going to find a lot.
But the elusive dandelion is still something the whole ship's company wants to collect.
Okay. Go cave diving. Okay. All right.
Donley dandy snagger.
Yeah, well.
A new contraption to capture a dandelion in one piece has been put together by the crew. The preparation for a dive is always a tense time. But once the sub starts down, the crew, Ballard, Giddings, and pilot Ralph Hollis, can allow themselves a few moments to relax.
That sounds all right so far. I can live with that.
All right.
Is that a new singer?
Blue Mountain.
Won't fit in the bill. Yeah. Is it clear to stand up?
Hey,
You're trying to make up for the front?
All right. Come on, Hollis, let's drive this thing.
Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go?
Lulu, this is Alvin, passing 250 meters, over.
With the sub on the way to the bottom, some of the crew pursue their own prerogatives.
On the bottom.
We're at the edge of a drain-back crater. We actually went inside the crater. Try to drive forward, Ralph. And let me film the edge of this.
When the sub is maneuvering in such tight quarters, the pilot must always be aware of dangerous overhangs. Should Alvin become trapped, there is no one to help.
I'm trying to keep from getting caught in here. Keep a pivot right. Right or left? Right. Pivot right. No, I can't. It's not that wide, Bob. No, I see your problem.
Well, let's not get stuck in this thing.
We're now rising out. Okay, let's just get underway.
And we'll try to follow the fissure out and drive along the trend, see if we can find some new fissures, new bends. You see that white stuff along the edge of the rocks? That's spaghetti. When you see that, you know you're getting close to a vent.
Quarters in Alvin are so cramped and her lights reach such a little distance into the gloom. Suddenly, ghost-like forms appear, take shape around the sub. A bouquet of tube worms is revealed. Alvin has come upon a huge and extraordinary event, and the largest tube worms anyone has ever seen.
My God, look at that. Isn't that fantastic? It must be at least 8-10 feet tall. Look at how many there are. Look at all that material in the water. It's just like a soup. This is just the biggest fin I've ever seen. Look at how extensive that life is. In 1977, we never saw anything like this. I mean, we saw tube worms. There was a few of them. They were a few feet tall, but look at this concentration.
Pictures taken through the sub portholes can capture the overall view of the vents, but only the video camera can record the extraordinary close-up detail of the creatures.
There must be a lot of food here for these animals to grow this much. Look at how many there are. You don't see this much life in shallow water. Al, I wish we had a biologist here to see all of this. I hope this one gets to the surface in one piece.
Just getting a dandelion inside a container is hard enough. But what will happen on the way to the surface? Will the delicate creature blow apart as temperature and pressure change?
Lulu, this is Alvin.
This is Lulu, Roger.
We had a very good session in the vent. We've named it the Rose Garden.
Truly looks like a series of beautiful rose hedges.
God, we found vents all over the place.
I'd say, okay, you're coming up to the high part now, and I'd be looking through the viewfinder, and we'd be looking at animals. The stack would just get higher and higher and higher until
Where does
just
it
a
end?
big white wall of animals.
Canisters.
All right, you ready?
Put your hand on the bottom.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, don't let it drain out!
Fantastic!
Just let him go into there and then I'll scoop him
Oh,
up.
he's falling apart. Get that one.
Let him out in the water.
He'll fall. He'll fall.
So put the jar. We'll get him in the glass
You ready?
jar.
You ready? Got him? Beautiful. Look at, keep all those things. Fantastic. Look, it's a colony. You know, it really looks different. It's a colony. Let's put them all in there. They're not one cell, there's a bunch of them. Is there a center nucleus to it, or? There's a colony with some sort of...
We can sieve all the rest of the pieces out. But I want to
wanted to get them out as delicate as they can be. I figure if you'd sieve them, they'll all...
Well, the pieces don't matter as much.
Why don't you decanter off some of the water? That is fantastic. They're colonies. So fragile. And all those little white things that came off, you know?
Let me cap it up here.
Brody here made it, designed it, second generation modification.
Yeah, but it took skill to use it. It took skill to use it.
We sent the skill, we sent the technology, it all went together and made a great thing.
Ah.
That's good.
Sure never seen one of those before, right?
Never seen anything like that before. No,
You're the
not at
first
all.
biologist that ever did, I think. Huh?
That's probably right. First one to see it all complete, total, like that. Really a pretty color. Nice peach color. I hate to kill something that's as pretty as that.
Dudley was Dudley was out of his mind and finally picked it up. You know. You preserving it now?
Well, I'm afraid it'll disintegrate as soon as it gets warm, and/or because of the pressure. Like, look at here. This guy's starting to ooze out some of the color, per se.
Yeah, it is.
It's probably that cell has erupted.
Do you see any of those filaments that it used? Now, there's another one erupting. Oh, there's another one.
Now, let's get it warm. Get him in the cold, quick.
It looks like he's having a problem.
Within an hour, the fragile dandelion disintegrates. Apparently, mankind will gaze on this fragile creature only in pictures, or 8,000 feet down. The expedition to the Galapagos Rift lasted 45 days. But at places like Woods Hole, work on the specimens collected on the dies will continue for years. Grassley and others have already discovered that the red-topped worms have no close relative in the world of animals. Possibly they are in a new phylum, the most basic division of zoology. The dandelion related to the Portuguese man of war consists of hundreds of parts with specialized functions. The mussels are a new species. The crabs are a new family. But the most basic discovery of all was confirmed by microbiologist Holger Janisch.
There are two major findings that makes us reasonably certain that bacteria are indeed the primary producers of organic matter on these deep sea vents. And the first point is that a tremendous amount of bacteria are contained in the water that exudes from the vents. Tremendous amount of microorganisms as we have never seen before in seawater. And these organisms incorporate CO2 into organic matter. And this is done with a chemical oxidation rather than with light.
So this is not simply a discovery of new creatures, but rather of a whole new ecological system. A system based on chemosynthesis, not photosynthesis.
In the lifetime of a scientist, occasions like this are very rare. And for this particular discovery, one would say once in a lifetime, something occurs like that.
I think what we've done in these programs is to show how much more there is to do, and that really the potential for discoveries are just numerous. And I think that would be tragic if my children thought that all the discoveries had been made and that they were just a mop-up operation. And I will always argue that there's countless discoveries to be made in every frontier that you can pursue, and certainly in the marine frontier. I mean, that's an easy one, actually. That's a guaranteed new frontier.
2 months after the Galapagos Rift expedition, and 2,000 miles to the north, the Angus Alvin team makes a major new discovery. They find more vents and a similar profusion of life. Many of the same creatures abound. They find yet another kind of worm. The worms are probably a new family. Turbid water pours out of chimney-shaped vents. Water so hot, at 750 degrees, it partially melts Alvin's heat probe. Mineral deposits accumulate at the base of the chimneys. Copper, zinc, iron, sulfur. This is the first time geologists have ever seen how mineral deposits are actually formed. Scientists using Alvin have continued to explore the mid-oceanic ridge. The significance of their studies has not yet been measured. But we do know already that seawater circulates through the rifts and out again about every 10 million years, changing the chemistry of the sea. And the discovery of a new ecological system is the most important biological finding about the deep sea in 100 years. These finds have dramatically altered our concept of the deep sea floor, the animals there, and the water above it. Our view of the ocean can never be the same again.
The Galapagos Rift and East Pacific Rise expeditions featured in this National Geographic special were funded by the National Science Foundation and the Office of Naval Research as part of a continuing program to investigate the world's largest mountain range. Recently, scientists explored what they believe to be the fastest spreading center in the world, a remote segment of the mid-ocean ridge off Easter Island in the South Pacific. Another expedition to the East Pacific Rise has determined that the temperature of the hot water vents there reaches more than 700 degrees Fahrenheit. The future holds promise of even greater discoveries.